Hello. In this video, I want to give you a brief demonstration of how you can use the programming functionality of Excel in order to make a repetitive task go more quickly, particularly if you're going to potentially have to do it over and over again. Like sometimes people have to do it because they need to do it on different things. Sometimes they have to do it because there's a high chance of some sort of a change that's going to cause them to have to do it. In our case, not necessarily saying either of those are going to happen, but this is just a good example of a place where a macro could speed things up. So when I talk about a program in an Excel, I might call it a macro. Those are the same thing. First thing that you have to do is you have to get access to the place in Excel where you can control this programming. It is a tab called the Developer tab. If you look on my Mac, it doesn't show up right now. That's sort of the default. It's the same way in Windows that you can't see this Developer tab. I'm going to show you how you get to it on the Mac side. It's a little bit different way to get to it on the Windows side, but it works the same way in terms of showing the Developer tab, something called the Developer tab. And so you can Google that, or you can ask me in class. But basically, on the Mac side, you want to go to the Excel Preferences, go to something called the ribbon. Ribbon is what it means, all this stuff that's showing at the top of your Excel. Go down here and you'll see that there's something called the Developer that's not checked. Check it. Okay, and hit OK. What that does is pops up this new tab you can select called the Developer tab. And on that tab, we're going to use a few things. We're going to use the recorder, we're going to use the editor, and then we're going to use some of these other form controls. But for now, we're going to start out with the recorder. The recorder basically starts recording any sort of clicks or formulas or anything else that you do in Excel from the time that you start it to the time that you stop it. So we're going to use it to record the pattern of us going through and saying, okay, let me take a base value, copy it, edit, paste special values, okay? Moving it over. I probably didn't need to do that, right? I really needed this one, so we'll go copy, Control C to copy, move it over, paste special values. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is that now that I've changed that, these things have changed, and so I've got to go copy this, copy the present value. I'm going to move it over to the same row as the information that I'm changing, paste special values, and so it's in the present value down because I shifted down. I'm going to take the Control C, paste special values down for the cash down. Okay, so you kind of get the gist of this. And then I'm going to take the up value for it and paste it over into the values place, paste special. Okay, so now it's at 11 and that's changed everything. So we're going to grab the present value, paste it special, values. Okay, we're going to grab the cash value. We're going to paste it special, values. Okay. And then we're going to return everything back to the base. So we're going to take and paste special the values again. Okay. So now we returned it to its original starting point. We're all good, and now we're basically just calculating out these values. Don't worry about these changes over here. That formula in there is wrong right now, but we're just focused on this. So now that I've done that once, so I basically have done everything I want to do for one row, I'm going to stop the recorder. And we'll need to name that thing, so we're just going to name it, I don't know what we're going to name it, quite frankly. We'll just say OK. And now let's go to the editor and see what we captured. All right. So when we go into the editor, I did this wrong, apparently. I don't know why, but it didn't capture it. So we're just going to go back over here I think it's recording now, actually. Not sure. So we're going to hit record. Yeah, so when you hit record, that's when this pops up. So we'll call this test 2. Okay, and so now we're just going to go back through the same steps again. So I'm going to take the down value, copy, paste values. So paste special values. Take these values, Control C, paste them into down, paste special values. Okay. Take the cache. We know we're doing that part of it right, at least because these amounts are matching. Paste special values. Okay. Now we're going to go into take the 11%, Control, paste values, special values. And we'll grab those, and again, I would expect them to come out to about the same numbers, so that's good. Paste special values. Control C, cache up, paste special values. Okay, awesome. And then we're going to just take the base value and return it. You always want to remember that part because that's what resets everything, so that if you move to the next row, everything's good. All right, so now we're going to stop this thing. So now we've stopped it. We'll go to the editor under module 1, and we're looking for test 2, and here's all of the code we created. So I'm going to expand that for you for just a second. Sometimes that's a little in the way. Let's talk about what we've got. All right, so it created a sub. A sub is the language for a program. It's called test 2, like we said it would be. It's got some language at the top of it that is scrolling. I don't really care about scrolling, so I'm going to delete all of the rows related to scrolling. All right, what we care about is that it selects stuff, copies it, pastes it, and the pattern basically, if you went back and looked, is we're going to take stuff from column J on whatever row it's in. We're going to move it into column C in whatever row it's in. Right? And then we're going to grab F3, move it into that same row, but column L. And we're going to take F4, move it into that same row, but column N. Right? Then we're going to go grab from column K, paste it into C. Take F3, go into, instead of column L, we'll go into column M. Take F4, go into column O. And then we're going to grab column I and paste it back over to column C. Okay, so if we go back into the editor, we'll see that's what just happened. J4 goes to C4, right? Then we grab F3, move it to L4. Then we grab F4, move it to N4. Then we go grab, like we said, from column K, we move stuff over, right, from column K to C. Then we go grab F3, goes to M4, F4 goes to O4, so column O. Then we grab I4 and put it back in C4, and then we're all good. Now here it's just doing an extra select. We don't care whether it does that or not, but we'll just leave it in there. I don't care. All right? So that's all good, but it's not really useful for us because it keeps just taking everything to row 4, and we don't need row 4, and we don't need to read from just row 4. We got to go row by row. So what we want to do is we want to be able to take this program and modify it so that it will, whatever row it is that I have selected, that's the one that it will do all of these steps for. All right? So we're going to make use of a little something. We want to be able to extract from whatever cell we're selected in the row numbers. So we're going to go Google Excel VBA get row of selected cell. And you can see I've done that before. But you want to figure out how to do that, so I just Googled. And if you go read all of the stuff that you come up with, it's basically going to come back and say, oh, there's this thing called activecell.row. So whatever cell you have clicked on in Excel, it can extract the row number from that. and we're going to make use of that. All right, so we're going to create a value, and we are basically going to call it, let's just call it a row. All right, now Excel's kind of picky. Before you can use a value, we're going to say a row is equal to active cell dot row, which is what we found over in our Googling, right? You can just call it a row. Now, Excel's kind of funny. It requires you to do something called a dim or a dimension statement when you create a new variable. And so we have to do a row, and I'll just say equals, we'll call it long, is long. All right, as long, my bad. We can talk about that in more detail if you want, but that's something that Excel really insists on. And what all that's doing is it's letting Excel know that this thing called active row needs to have a format that's called a long decimal, and it's okay because that's what it is. That's just some programming gotcha there. But so now what we need to do is we need to go into every place where we're really focused on things happening in a row, and we want to replace the row number with this a row. So we would take out, for example, instead of selecting column J, row 4, we would say, whatever selected, right? And so in our case, we would say, whatever row we clicked on, we would just have that, and we would say it's J and the ampersand and a row. All right. Sorry, move that around just a little bit. So now what it's saying is select J, in column J, select the cell that's in whatever row I had already started out with. All right. So I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to copy it to C and a row. My bad, I messed up here and took away one of the quote signs. You use the quotes to let it know that it's text, and I just got a little sloppy there. All right, so then it's going to take the value in J, copy it, and then paste special it into C. Then it's going to grab value F3. We don't want to mess with rows on that because that's where the present value amounts are. And it's going to copy it, but it's going to copy it into column L, as we talked about, and a row. All right. Then it's going to take value F4, which again is the cache value. We don't want to mess with the row on that. And it's going to put into N. I don't know why I keep hitting that wrong, but and a row. All right, and it's going to paste that. It's got these scrolls. You can leave them in, you can take them out, doesn't matter. And the spacing there doesn't really matter. All right, and so now we've moved over. We've done all the stuff for the down. So now we're going to grab from column K what the up value is. And again, we want a row there because we want whatever row we're on. We're going to paste that into C, right? Column C. So actually we're not pasting, we're going to go grab the value in column C, right? Or paste, I guess we're pasting it in C, a row, pasting value. Okay, and then we're going to grab the value of F3. Once again, it really is F3, and this time we're going to put it into column M and a row. Then we're going to grab the value of column F4, and we're going to put it into column O and a row. Okay, then we're going to go grab the value in column I, which is the base value, because we're finished now with the whole getting our values, and we just want to reset the column C back to the base, which is in column I. So a row, and put that in C and a row. So we basically, you do have to pay a little attention to what rows you're wanting to do here. That's just a reality of it. But we have basically replaced every place where you want the row to change you've replaced it with this formula, okay? So now you have this thing called test 2. What are we going to do with it? Well, let's see. I could just go, say, select on a row to do the next thing, and then go to macros, select test 2, and run it. All right? And it all flashed through pretty quickly, but you can see it filled out all these values for you, and it returned this back to 40%. So that's pretty nice, but it is a little bit of a pain to always have to go select the macro. So the next thing you can do is hit the little button thing up here. We're just going to draw a button on the sheet. All right, and we want to link that to macro test 2. So I just do that, and by the way, you can go edit this button's text. Just highlight it and say sensitivity if you want to, for example. So now if I want to go and say, oh, let's now do that for row 5, you hit the button, boom, it does it for row 5. You want to do it for row, let's see, what did we do? Was that row 6? Okay, we already did row 6, so let's do it for row 7, sensitivity, boom, fills it all out. Row 8, sensitivity, boom, fills it all out. All right, so makes it really fast for you to sort of go down and hit all of them, hit the buttons. It's just one of these examples of sort of the repetitive task and how you can record some code and do that. So again, I don't necessarily expect everybody to do this, but I know some of you are interested in macros, and so I wanted to show you how you might do that. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can ask me in class.